Hi, and welcome to another session of Vision of Growth. I'm your host, Larry Sassano, and my special guest today is Jim Hild, who's the General Manager of InDyne. Welcome, Jim.
Well, thank you very much, Larry, for inviting me to be on the show.
It's a pleasure, and we've got some interesting topics to talk about today with InDyne. And if you don't know who InDyne is, we're going to let Jim tell us. They obviously they are the Eglin Test and Training Complex company, that huge contract. And but Jim, tell us a little bit more about InDyne itself.
Well, thanks. InDyne is a privately owned company, and it was established in 1984. We grew up supporting NASA. It is a service contractor. Did a lot of information technology, multimedia, branched out into communications, grew up over the years supporting multiple NASA sites. We went into state and other federal activities. And then in about 2003, we went after, as part of our business expansion, went after Air Force contracts. Our first contract, large contract, was the launch range out at Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. Shortly after that, we bid and won the contract here to support the Eglin ranges, the operations and maintenance of the Eglin Test and Training Complex, and that is my contract. It is a fairly large contract, as you say, and we support all of the activities that are that the military does across the range, supporting all four services, and it's quite an exciting contract to do. Our company is very family oriented. We still act like a small business, even though we are a large business now. And part of that is that we are expected to be involved with the community, and that's why I'm here today.
Yeah, and we thank you that. And Jim Hild is also the incoming, very shortly, chairman of the EDC for the 2013 time period. And you know, I think I'd like to mention that, you know, when you become chairman of the EDC and on the executive board, it's not just your first time with the EDC.
Right.
You've spent a lot of time with the EDC, and 5 years before you become the chairperson, and so you pretty much know what we do and understand the staff and the programs and the mission and so forth. And then you served also, which we'll get into in a little bit, 2 years as the chairperson of the Defense Support Initiative, which we really appreciate that time and your interest, involvement in that as well. But let's talk about one other aspect of InDyne, and that is you've got presence outside the fence, inside the fence, and elsewhere around the country as well. Can you just touch upon that?
Absolutely. One of the things that we've done, we are, as I mentioned, very active in the IT world and communications, multimedia. In the past, to support Johnson Space Flight Center, we were involved in the biological experiments that were done up on the space station. We have had contracts at Kennedy Space Center and still do have an infrastructure operations and maintenance contract down supporting the Cape Canaveral Air Force Station and taking care of that. We also have a unique capability here in Fort Walton Beach that we actually spun off from my contract back in the 2007-2008 timeframe. When I first took over the contract here at Eglin, one of our responsibilities was to do security systems installation worldwide for the Air Force. The test wing decided that they did not want to do security systems installation anymore, but to concentrate on the test and evaluation aspects of the security systems. So my contract still does the test and evaluation side, but we looked at the business opportunity of installation of security systems and spun off a separate organization, still part of InDyne, that is called Integrated Security Solutions, and it is down in Fort Walton Beach. We do high-end security systems. We support the Missile Defense Agency. We've supported classified customers. We support the Air Force Reserve Command with maintenance activities. We have installed systems worldwide in Shiriki, Japan, in Djibouti, in just about you name it. We will go there and install systems. It can be as small as protecting a conference room so that it is secure if you're doing communications, or it can be an entire facility that we are protecting with fences and sensors to detect intrusions and all of the enunciators and things along those lines. So it is a full service capability that is downtown, and I do want to make a plug for the Economic Development Council. As we were planning on spinning this off, of course we had to look for commercial properties. And one of the things that the Economic Development Council does for our community, for businesses that are coming in, is to find those properties and help establish a good presence for us. So thank you for your help in the past.
Well, thank you for growing here. So you're actually in the commercial side of the security system as well as the military side.
We do concentrate on the government side, but we have done design work for companies such as World Bank.
Excellent.
So,
and I'm going to come back to that in a second. Let's talk a little bit about, and perhaps you can educate us about sequestration and what it is. You know, just touch upon it to let our audience understand why it is such a factor for what's taking place here at Eglin.
Well, it's a looming threat that's sitting out there. The previous Congress, current Congress, was unable to come to an agreement, and so they put a hook into their laws that said that if they don't come to an agreement on getting a balanced budget, that they would do an automatic cut to the programs that are often characterized as discretionary funding. Unfortunately, the Department of Defense, all of our security systems worldwide, is considered discretionary. And so on 1 January, if Congress does not do something different, sequestration will go into effect. And that will take, they've already taken $500 billion out of the growth of the federal government. They will take another $500 billion out. Now it's over a fairly large period of time, but it could have fairly immediate impacts to not only the money that comes into Okaloosa County, but to the jobs that are here. Nobody knows for sure what's going to happen. Most of the pundits are coming out, the experts are coming out and saying it will probably be a 10% across the board cut for both the programs and for contractors that are supporting those programs. What an article I just read said that it could be not just in Okaloosa County, but across the United States, that the vast majority of those cuts are going to go to small businesses. And it could be up to 500,000 jobs that would go away if sequestration hits. So this could be a very severe impact to our economy, both nationally and locally. If there's one plug that I can put out is, and I tell this to all of my employees, we have a civic duty to be educated and to vote in the elections that are coming up. You can choose who to vote for. The key is to get out and make your voice heard.
Great point. Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's jump in a related topic, in terms of where you've had also a lot of involvement with the Economic Development Council, and that's the Defense Support Initiative. You served as chairman for 2 years.
Yeah.
What is the DSI doing? How's it made up of in terms of its makeup of players, and how can it help in not making these cuts so severe and doing what it can in Washington to help out our area here?
Okay. Very, very good question. As you mentioned, I've been involved with the Defense Support Initiative here in actually the 3-county area since I came back in 2006. And first of all, the Defense Support Initiative, as you know, is a chartered committee, subcommittee of the Economic Development Council. So we are here to support the economic development as it relates to the defense communities, but also to support the defense infrastructure that's here, the bases, the missions, and those kinds of things. So when this committee was set up, it was made up of 3 counties, because Eglin crosses all 3 counties of Santa Rosa, Okaloosa, and Walton counties. And we have representatives from all 3 counties. We have county commissioners that are active county commissioners from Santa Rosa and Okaloosa. We have representation from the Economic Development Agency in Walton County. We have representatives from all of the military affairs committees that represent this area. We have obviously defense contractors that are a part of this. We have retired military that are a part of this. We have a very strong cross-section. The different chambers of commerce, their military affairs committees, assign who their representatives are to come and be a part of it. And so this committee not only reports to the Economic Development Council, it reports back to each one of the chambers of commerce and to the county commissions in the different areas. In that role of supporting both the economy and the bases, each year we put together a white paper, which is essentially the current topics. Some of them go over many years. When you talk about transportation, when the 7th Special Forces Group came in and we needed a flyover over Highway 85 up where their new facility is, the Defense Support Initiative got involved, and we work with both the state and with the federal officials to advocate for infrastructure needs and those kinds of things. We're very concerned with encroachment, and so we talk with developers, have relationships with the Nature's Conservancy and those kinds of things, so that we can make sure that the base, the Eglin Ranges, are protected. Because as you know, the economic engine that is this Eglin Air Force Base brings in so much to this county, the 3-county area, that we really have to preserve that capability, not only for our economics, but for the nation's defense. This is a jewel between the airspace, the ground space, the water space, to be able to do test and evaluation for the advanced weapons and weapon systems that make our nation's military the strongest in the world. So we put this white paper together, and that's just the beginning. Then, of course, we go to each one of the communities, to the military affairs committees, to make sure that we are representing what their desires and needs are. We go to the base. We have an ex officio member of Eglin on our committee, and so he provides us insight into what the priorities of the military are. And then on an annual basis, we go up to Washington, D.C. and we meet with both Pentagon leaders and with the congressional leaders. And Congressman Miller has been the host for many years. Of course, Congressman Sutherland in District 2 is involved, as are both our senators.
Right.
And so we've had great support, both House and Senate, both Republicans and Democrats, as we go up and advocate for the local community. And we've had quite a few successes. Most recently, this was more advocating for support from the state of Florida, but the flyover activity that is going on at Hurlburt Field of being able to improve the traffic flow on Highway 98 is a direct result of the advocacy and the use of some of the grant money that we've been able to obtain over the years.
Jim, that was excellent summarization of how that DSI group works. And you know, another example, as you were giving those a couple examples with the flyover in Hobart, I thought back to a time when our DSI group, and I think the idea came out of General Fornell. And he at that time, I think Governor Bush was just coming into offices as the new governor, and we recommended that the governor form some type of a task force with all the bases around Florida on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
He jumped on that, and he did it on a quarterly basis, and now Governor Scott is doing that as well. So that's another thing. Most people probably would have known where that idea came from, but
Right.
it came from the DSI group. So I thank you for your leadership there, and it's been a great group, and they've done a lot of good things for this community and for the region as well.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank
I want to jump into a little bit about your new role now with also your non-paying job with the EDC as chairperson. And maybe I'll do a little talking, and this way your wife won't get tired of hearing you if she watches the show so much. And I think that you understand, as you do, whenever I've seen you take on something, you've become thoroughly understanding of what you're taking on and the components of it. And you know, the EDC has certain missions we're going to carry on, and you and I talked briefly about this. One of those is that we formed last year with Kay Rasmussen is the community partnerships. We're going to continue that. That's been so successful in a cross communication that we're now in the process of actually providing more detailed goals and performance measures with the community, so that we're going to show them that what are the real nuts and bolts of your missions that the EDC can help you with in terms of job growth, creating jobs, creating economic generators in individual communities. So that's going to continue, and I feel strongly about that as well, because Kay's done a great job with that. The other area, of course, is the continuation of business support, and I like to term it as business retention and expansion.
Yeah.
Nothing is more valuable, more important than any economic development program, I don't care where you go in the country, than the retention and the expansion of existing industry. If they're not happy, you're not going to be able to successfully recruit companies. So we put about 80% of our efforts into that. And if we make announcements, probably 80% of those announcements are going to be from existing companies that are growing. And that's a good thing for us, because that's the basis for growth in our economy anyway. And you mentioned the military commitment through the DSI. That's going to continue. That's also because that's the biggest economic generator. We're going to continue to put a lot of effort and time and come up with new ideas. That's why we have business leaders like yourself on those committees, because you tell us what's going on, not only locally but nationally, in terms of the military impacts and how they will impact our local economies. And then the last one is kind of a new one that we've been developing because of the importance of it in an economy where you have two strong economic generators like military and tourism, and that's diversification. We've got to strengthen that third leg of that stool, and that's what we're doing right now in the form of looking at other industries that make sense to this economy based on the manpower that we have here. You're retired military, and we did a poll with the University of West Florida a few years ago about the average companies in the area that employ transitioned military men and women. It was like 30% of their workforce, and I'm sure it's higher in others. And we feel that that's such an important element, the training of that, so that they can not only go into perhaps defense contractors work, but also in commercial work.
Right.
And it's not a hard transition because the skills and the experience that these men and women bring with them is second to none. And we know that when we're dealing with a company from California or New York or wherever, they're looking at us oftentimes because of that. They know the quality of the workforce that exists here. So that's a big factor for us. So, you know, we'll, as I told you before, our staff will help you, and we'll look for guidance from you and the rest of the board as we carry out this mission for 2013. I think we'll have a great year. I think we're, even though we're seeing some differences in the projections of what may happen, we're going to continue to hopefully grow in this market with your help. Right. Next, I want to talk a little bit about, I want to go back to your security systems and talk about the commercial project, which is the Airbus A320 coming into Mobile, Alabama. Right. They're supposed to be starting construction on that next summer, 2013. Just as a company that's been pretty much inundated into military defense contract work, do you see an opportunity for EnDyne for possibly being an Airbus supplier?
Well, Larry, we've made a conscious decision that we are a service contractor. And so we are not a manufacturer. That as being involved with the test and evaluation side, we want to maintain a clean slate on organizational conflict of interest. Now, that doesn't preclude us from supporting a company like the Airbus, not in terms of being a supplier of parts, but in terms of helping them do test and evaluation of their equipment. We can do that. Mm-hmm. Or with my security systems counterpart downtown, if they have a need to secure their either parts of their factory or the entire factory, we can design and help them install any types of security system. So we have niches that we are excited about with Airbus coming in. Now, there's a lot of other companies that are here in the local area that would probably are chomping at the bit to get there. And one of the values of the Economic Development Council is that we can provide that information to the different members, the investors in the Economic Development Council. Larry, over these past several years of being on the board, it became very obvious to me that the power of the Economic Development Council is in the membership.
Absolutely.
And the membership can help each other. We have programs like TechMen where we can get those smaller businesses to know where there's opportunities to assist in manufacturing and those things for the larger companies. The investors in the Economic Development Council are looking for return on investment.
Absolutely.
And the investors are not only the private companies that are a part of it, but also the public entities that are the cities and the county and that. And so I really was excited when we decided to have Kay Rasmussen go out and do the interface with the different community aspects so that they would know exactly what the return on investment is. And it becomes so obvious to invest in the Economic Development Council when you see that return.
Well, thank you. And And Kay took that program to another level beyond where I thought it would go. And we're going to continue, as I said, with strengthening that. We're starting it right now with our cities and having individual meetings with our point person from the city, the county or city council member, and then the city managers, so that we can see what it is that we need to be doing better this year to get more involved and let them get more involved with projects that we're working. That's one thing that we haven't done because of confidentiality, but we found a way around that and still keep the projects confidential, but bring the cities into it so that they feel a part of the project when someone's looking to expand or relocate to their city.
Absolutely.
So we're just about out of time. We maybe have about 1.5 minutes. I wanted to perhaps just talk a little bit about that grant again that we just were awarded from the state, and the governor was here to award it to the EDC, and that was the Defense Reinvestment Grant, which really funds and supports the DC trip that we take annually. And beyond that, because those dollars are not in our budget. Those dollars are for the military support and for the community. And but we're happy to be able to coordinate those dollars, and they've been very effective, and I think that's why we were awarded the highest amount of any of the communities, military communities around the state of Florida. So any last, we've got about less than a minute, any last thoughts you'd like to express?
Well, the last thought I have is InDyne is very up on trying to be involved with the communities where we have contracts. And one of the things that we are sponsoring here coming up on the 3rd of November, open, free to the public, is the Wounded Warrior Amputee softball team. And I would encourage everybody to come out to the softball fields in Destin, and you will see some true American heroes who have had the unfortunate aspect of, in the service of our country, losing some limbs, but it hadn't slowed them down a bit. And so please come out and support our military.
And thank you, InDyne, and Don Bishop and Jim Hild for supporting these men and women. You've been watching Jim Hild, General Manager, InDyne, and the new chairman this year for the EDC. Thank you, Jim. It was a pleasure having you here, and it'll be a pleasure working with you this coming year.
I look forward to it, Larry.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show today.